I think we're live.
All right.
Well, thanks for joining us. Um, it's a brand new experience for me, so take it easy on me. Um, Denmark. All right. Halfway around the world. So, Elizabeth asked some people if they would come up with some questions in case we only had 2 or 3 people to show up here.
So, one of the questions from Odd Name in the Discord was, how did you think of doing this type of automatic tool change compared to a traditional pneumatic system?
All right, so I didn't really think of doing it per se. I just wanted to make a pick and place, so I wouldn't lose my cutters and looking for my wrenches. And I never thought it would produce any torque, so I built a prototype. And actually, I don't know if you could see that.
Mm-hmm.
That was my prototype. It was mounted on 2 posts, spring loaded. Drove the spindle down into it. Well, I incrementally moved it down about a millimeter at a time and sucked it right up. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And so I took it off and then I plunged it down and and when I went, pardon me. So I didn't have reverse on the spindle at the time. And so when I went to remove the nut, it was a lot tighter than I expected it to be. So it got me thinking that maybe it was worth something. And when I did get my spindle to spin reverse, I started having problems dropping it off and having it stay aligned in the pocket, and it would jam. So I played with that for about 7 months until I changed the geometry so it would quit jamming in the socket, and that was it. I knew people would enjoy it. It's a real game changer. Have automatic tool change on a small machine without a lot of extra complexity and cost. So it was an accident. I never expected for it to do what it did.
And how long did it take you to develop the geometry needed for repeatability?
About 7 months. I spent about 7 months on it, whittling away at the geometry, and it was a journey. I almost gave up at one point, but I just felt like it had to work, so I kept going. An ATC for stupid spindles. Yeah. It's pretty amazing that it works. A lot of people have a hard time believing that it works because these spindles don't produce really any torque on their own, and the principle behind it is that the mass of the spindle and the rotational force, when it hits the stop, that spindle wants to keep spinning, and it just tightens it up, come back, regain rotation, and hit it one more time to finish the torque, and it just works. The bigger the spindle, the less RPMs needed to produce the torque, and pretty simple. It's pretty simple.
And your goal is to bring ATC as standard equipment to CNC machines everywhere. And with that in mind, what we've got here are our two different versions. So do you want to go over that a little bit?
So the standard version, basic version, you could mount this to your table and make tool changes just right out of the box. It's all code. Then I developed a dust cover so that keep dust and debris out of it, and it's pretty involved. We used to make them loose, and now they have a hinge point in the back, so it seals pretty well. They've got NEMA 17 motors, and there's infrared sensors to check for the presence of the clamping nut. Should it fail to drop or load the tool, it will detect that with the integrated softwares that we've scripted for so far. Yeah, and I've produced a couple 12-unit magazines, 12 pocket magazines, basically in two pieces. I just shipped two out the other day, so I don't have one right now. But actually, you could show that.
We've got a question from Machined in Wood. How do you keep tools from slipping in the collet?
That's a good question. So, why don't you grab one? If you can grab one out of, grab the one in the third pocket out of the centroid machine. I don't know if you can get to it though.
They're from the sensor or from the probe?
Yeah. So I use a piece of wire shrink. And this is going to be a good example too. So put a little bit of wire heat shrink on there, keeps it from sliding through. Now, if you've got a collet where, back here is the same size as the bit, which a lot of them are, this one happens to have a recess here. So instead of only getting that much length, it's got that recess, so it will hang down, and I get a good 1 3/4 inches. It's one of the cutters we use to cut the magazines with. So heat shrink works real good, but I prefer to have snug fitting spring collets. But the heat shrink works pretty good. An O-ring would work, I suppose. Anything to and it doesn't seem to add anything to the balance of the clamping nuts. Questions are coming kind of slow.
And what would you say about the development on the software end of things? I know James isn't here to speak right now.
Yeah.
But talk about that.
Somebody did ask about version 2 of UCCNC, which is a wizard which walks you through the whole process. Hopefully next week I'll be better prepared in following episodes, so I can learn how to share my screen and stuff. I know absolutely nothing about what I'm doing right here today, so bear with me. We got a
Travis is asking, are there plans for turrets?
For a turret, yeah, it could certainly work with a turret. I haven't really. I've got a few things on my mind as far as future integrations and developments and peripherals, dust boots, and things like that. Right now, we are just trying to, grow awareness and get it rolling. But a turret is certainly in the realm of possibility.
And what is a turret?
So a turret's going to be like a circular, like you see on a lot of ATC systems where the pockets are ranged around in a circle and it spins. It could move in and spin to come into
Gotcha.
position to pick the tool.
Gotcha.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people coming up with different iterations and ways to use it. And being how small it is, it's mobile, it's flexible,
And we also had some questions about Jason Rotek's 2-column design and when that software may be available or what form it's currently available in.
So I had a customer in Indiana bought one, and then a few weeks later he bought 4, and he'd sent me an email. His name is Jason Rotek. He sent me an email and said that he had written his own macros for UCCNC, and he had plans to line it double row, and because of the dead space he has on his machine. So, pardon me. I built him one. I wish I could show a picture, but I don't know how to share my screen right now. I don't want to screw this up. So I built him a double row 7, and we're going to be integrating that into UCCNC. It could probably go into just about anything. So there's really, the sky's the limit, really, as far as the flexibility and what could be done with it. I think it's all a matter of a lot of it's just a matter of writing the scripts for it. And other than Linux CNC, we've got a few guys working on that. And Gerbil Hal got a guy, Rocco, on the Discord server. He's working on a Gerbil Hal solution. And then Machined in Wood asked about Masso. So Masso, I've actually got Masso on a machine, on my test machine here. And Guillaume NC Chips on our Discord server wrote a post processor for Fusion 360. And I tested it out with some basic G code, running the G code for the tool, loading and unloading, which it's all really just G code, running the spindle and at the prescribed heights and whatnot. And then I believe the way his post processor works is that it will put the G code in before the M6, and then when the M6 is called, it's just Masso's manual tool change that it just prompts you to change the tool and hit cycle start. So there is that that user input to hit cycle start, and then it will go and probe the tool and set the tool offset and continue with the job. So as far as Masso goes, there's no way for us to integrate the M6 macro or customize it. Masso doesn't allow customization of the M6 or writing your own macros for stuff. So hopefully, as this gets more wider used, Masso will get on board and make that available to their users. So right now, it works, but it's a matter of hitting cycle start before once the G code picks the tool up, and hitting cycle start, so the Masso system will set the tool length offset.
And did you want to elaborate more on that?
No.
what does the setup look like when you receive a unit, a RapidChange unit?
So basically, you know, you've got the magazine. We have mounting templates, and you find an axis, x-axis, y-axis, bolted to the table. Every time I've put one on my machines, one of my machines, I'll mill a fence to line it up straight, and the mounting holes, and then position it, bolt it to the table. Find the first socket and configure the software.
And then after it's mounted to the table, you've got the cable connector, which is just a matter of
Right. So we
wiring
now
up
have
the
a
whole-
aircraft connector. Let me grab this screwdriver, open this up. Plugs in with the aviation connector now at 8. It's we only use 7 pins, but so that gives you three wires for the infrared sensor, and then the 4 wires for the stepper motors. And the stepper motors are wired in reverse polarity, so they turn in the opposite direction to open and close the dust cover. And then so Guillaume mentioned, oh, I did a good job explaining the Masso workflow. Okay. I haven't actually tried the post processor. I do have the simple G code for picking up and loading and unloading the tools available for anybody that wants to use it, you know, on a Gerbil machine or something. Can always be written in, and you know, I've got a little I don't know if you can see it right back there. It's a little Genmitsu machine that I wired up with I wired a little relay and a momentary switch to get the DC spindle to spin in reverse, and just playing with it. But you know, it's all G code, and basically, you know, it's if anything else, even if you don't have the M6, it's a place to keep your tools, and you don't have to use wrenches to put the tool on and take it off, at the very least, you know. So even at that stage, that basic usability, it saves some hassle, you know. So
we have a question about the V2 available for download. I'm not sure if that's the.
no, I think that was UCCNC. Yeah, so I saw James is on vacation right now. He writes all the UCCNC Mach 3 work. We're working on Mach 4, which is almost done. We've got a little help on that too. So I expect that to be done by next week. And then version 2, we've got it out to a couple people playing with it, and that should be on the website here within a week, I would say. Okay.
Is that the 32?
What's that?
The 32 is going to be available in a week, or was that the UNC?
No, the UCCNC Wizard.
Okay, so why
Yeah.
don't you talk about the ER32 size going to be available soon?
Yeah, so we do have ER25 available now, and I got the first ER32 Beta Magazine going on a machine here within the next couple days. So hopefully that I have no reason to believe that's not going to work out well. Let's see what.
Another question, does it need a special post processor to work with CAM apps?
To work with what?
CAM apps.
I don't know what CAM Apps is.
Can we elaborate on CAM apps? And then someone said I have a MP CNC, so once I get a
CAM
VFD
apps.
and spindle, definitely gonna look into this. Status of CNC Wizard release date.
Yeah. So the status of the CNC version 2 Wizard is, I mean, it's pretty much ready to go. Like I said, James is on vacation, but I think we was going to go over some of the wording on it. But if you send me an email, I'll get it to you right away. It's pretty much done. We just wanted to do some editing a little bit, but if you want to use it, I can give it to you right away. Probably other than that, we'll probably have it available on the website first of the week or this weekend or something.
And what are all the softwares we're currently integrated and fully functional with?
Okay, so I got you for the apps, about the CAM apps. So really, like, I don't use do anything special post processor wise on my Centroid. I just run the Centroid post processor for my Fluid NC machine. You know, the only the only time that we did have Secret Man on the Discord server wrote a post processor for Vectric because it would do something funky. It would immediately go in Z after probing the tool to the safe clearance of the part height, you know. But other than that, Mach 3, Centroid, Fluid NC, other than Vectric in that one situation, I haven't had any reports of post processors not working with it.
Someone asked, does it need a custom one for Mach 3? You said not that you know
of. For Mach 3, I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. Vectric, yes, because it had that weird behavior. As soon as it probed, it would go straight down in Z to the safe clearance over the part, you know, 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, whatever your safe, you know, whatever your travel movement height is over your part, it would want to plunge right to that right away. So I think the post processor just sends it to a coordinate in X and Y first before any Z movement. Okay, Andrew Luger said Carbide Create works fine. That's interesting. Okay, and FreeCAD also works good. Let's see. No Cool said, does it need a special? Okay, just covered that. For Masso, oh, I'm getting confused reading these comments. So,
yeah.
and Travis Pickle asked about CNCJS, and I'm not really 100% sure I understand exactly what CNCJS is. If it's a whole, I mean, you know, I don't know at all. So I don't know if it's a control software or hardware. I'm asked about so many different things. It's insane, and it's hard to keep them all straight. But Okay, a sender, like universal G code sender, something like that. Okay. Um, it's probably going to work with that. Okay. Oh, a web sender. Okay. Okay. I got you. So, I've run it on my Fluid NC machine on UGS. It did some weird stuff, like it didn't like the commands and stuff, but it ran fine. I got a bunch of error messages, but it did what it was supposed to do. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't. I've only got a couple. I've got one test machine that test. I've got the Masso hooked up on it now, and I've run UCCNC and did our mock testing on it and stuff. So other than that, I've got a Centroid machine that I machine magazines on, and a Fluid NC machine um, that I do some work on as well.
Machined in wood said, what are your thoughts on Fluid NC?
It it's not buggy. Okay, it doesn't do weird things. Like Mach 3 is extremely weird. Um, I think sometimes that has to do with the controller. The cheap USB controllers sometimes have hiccups. Um, but Fluid NC is really quite stable. And the thing that I do like about Fluid NC is that, the micro, everything's computed on the board. It doesn't, it runs off, doesn't run over USB or anything. You can control it over Wi-Fi, tell it to run the codes. But if you've got you can upload through Wi-Fi the G-code files, and then when you click go, it's running it right off the board. So I get really good performance out of that. And then I really like the Centroid machines. It's got all the probing and stuff. I like Fluid NC. It's solid. It's reliable, but it doesn't have a lot of the functionality that like Centroid has built in with the probing and stuff. Other than testing Mach 3 and UCCNC, I've never really cut any files with it to speak of. I've run some G code files, but all right, let's see. Got a
Michael Dexter
Gemitsu.
said, what laser did you use early on to set the tool length? Interested in adding it to my machine.
Okay, so it was. I've got one somewhere, but it's just a little cheap 5-volt laser diode, and you get them on Amazon. They have it's got a receiver. The problem with that, it worked really good. The problem was aiming it, and then trying to think about how I was going to make these with my limited capabilities, and I was just really wasn't going to be able to make something uh, marketable, basically. But I have seen. I was talking about Jason Rotek with the double row magazines. He uses a little laser. It's like it's a laser. I guess they're like $150, but I seen he did a video and I saw that and I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, a laser shooting all the way across the magazine would be really sweet because you could literally set the tool as you're coming up out of the pocket. I thought that would really be cool, and I'm sure that a little time under our belt, and that's something that I'm going to be reviewing because it was pretty sweet. It was pretty sweet. Okay, so Walter Sipchenko, I hope I got that right. I've got a Mitsu. Okay, and the Google video, is there a way to rig it to be fully automatic, or would it be stuck semi-automatic? Um, so Gerbil is something. The problem with a lot of the main situation with tool changes and making them automatic is that the the software needs to know which tool it has. So in the case of Fluency, we had to go into the firmware and write that functionality. And right now, I got a guy who is doing the same thing with Gerbil have. So it's definitely something that is on the horizon. It can be done. Um, and there's a lot of Gerbil users out there. So it's definitely, on our list. It's just a matter of time. There is, if you could get a hold of an output, you could switch, there's a way to, like I put a relay on that Gerbil video. I had just a momentary switch on with a relay to turn the spindle back. But if you had it hooked up to, say, an output pin that Gerbil normally uses, like the mist pin, if that's available, then you could, in the G code, you could put an M8 and an M9, and it would switch that relay at the proper time to, to reverse the polarity on the spindle. So the little DC spindle will go in reverse. So, it's all code, and it's just a matter of writing it, I guess.
Michael Dextra said, willing to share roughly how many units are in the wild?
Oh, yeah, sure. Just under 200. Just under 200. I think like 180 something. Yeah. So I would have hoped it'd have been a little more by this time, but.
And we also had a comment. So your top pick would be Centroid, then UNCC.
So I would have to say, if I was going to set up another machine, which I want to, I probably, at this time, I would probably go Centroid. Yeah, it's pretty robust. It's got a lot of features, and yeah, probably. Two Massel machines now, adding a third, but Massel is almost $900 now. I know, Machine Did Wood talking about Massel there. It's, it really stumps me that, you know, it's a very attractive screen. I thought the setup was really easy with it and everything, but for $900 and you can't write your own custom macros. I mean, it kind of boggles my mind, honestly. I don't understand why. You can buy $60 software for UCCNC and you can write all the macros you want. You pay $900 for a controller and software, and you're limited to, very limited. So I don't know. I feel like this is such a simple solution, and it's reliable as your machine, and it's so inexpensive, and it solves such a big problem. It's just going to be the thing. So I assume that, I want to assume that Massel is going to get on board and get the configuration in there. There's questions that they had about the torque, and so I don't know. Things take time, I suppose. I think they'll lose out if they don't, really, in the long run.
Another question, how would the rapid change parts be safe from being hit by the end mill accidentally if bad G code is on execution user program?
I mean, they're going to be as safe as anything else, really. Let's see, if we set machine limits to not reach it. Right. And one thing about the magazine being made out of HDPE, it's pretty resilient. It'll snap a tool off, but I've crashed into, the ones on my machines a lot, just because testing code, nothing ever works right the first time. So it other than like the housings on the ends, I mean, I suppose you could smash into them and break them, but yeah, I don't know. Let's see.
Another question from Travis about dual spindle users. And so maybe we can
Okay,
talk about
so
what's essentially required to be compatible with the RapidChange unit.
I'm not quite sure I get it, but so routers, trim routers or whatever, like the DeWalt. The problem with those is not only reverse, but they won't spin slow enough. Like 4,000 RPMs even is too fast. It'll never engage. It'll just chatter. Um, so, yeah. Let's see here.
But so say somebody's building their machine from scratch, like what components do they need with a common spindle and such to be? Maybe you can talk about the VFD.
Torque issues? What's that? What?
Just compatible components for the RapidChange unit, since a router isn't.
Yeah, any high-speed spindle, VFD driven spindles are the best. They're the easiest to control. They're relatively inexpensive, anywhere from a little over $200 to maybe just under 400 for a 2.2 kilowatt spindle in a VFD. But so I'm not sure.
I think the
about
torque
the
issue
torque
with that, there
issues.
would be too much inertia from the spindle, right, to engage.
Yeah,
saying
it'd be
it's-
moving too fast. It would never catch. It would never catch. It'll just spin on the bearings and chatter.
So you talked about mounting, but after it's wired up, we can also probably next week figure out how to screen share and maybe have James come on and explain the wizard a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
But essentially that just walks you through the steps, correct? And you just set your own personal parameters for your table and machine depending on where your unit is.
Right. Yeah. So it's just a matter of setting all the heights and where you want, where it's at, how far down it goes when it engages, and
Where your tools are located.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just asking.
Right. So yeah, I plan to. It's hard for me to make videos getting in front of the screen. I never really wanted to, but I guess it's probably a good idea. So here I am. But yes, videos are coming, and when I figure out how to work this system, here hopefully we'll be practicing a little bit this week, I guess, and be able to incorporate some screen sharing and get into some good explanations on stuff. This probably be a good way to do it. I've got a guy who is making a bunch of videos. He bought one. He called me like a week or two later. He's got a big email list of people that he has a program for helping people develop and get into CNC manufacturing. and goes right along with that whole idea of cottage industry. And so he's making a bunch of videos, and he's making them all available to us to use. But I know I need to make a bunch of little videos about little details and things, and it's okay. Let's see.
Centroid system.
Oh, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, we do our best. It's a lot. There's there's only 4 of us really working on this project, so
Got the team here.
yeah.
And then machined in wood, could you point me in the right direction for where to get a Centroid system, or is there a vendor you like?
So I bought mine through CNC for PC. I think you can get them right on their website too. Centroid CNC, I think .com is the website for Centroid, and you're very welcome, Travis. It's my pleasure. I'm glad that we gathered a few folks here to talk about it.
Consider doing an earlier one, potentially next week.
Yeah, sure. Nothing's written in stone. I haven't even hardly figured out what I'm doing with this, to be honest. But yeah.
Open to suggestions.
Always.
And would love to have current users of RapidChange on to possibly share their experience.
Yeah.
If interested.
Yeah. So, I definitely going to be reaching out to some guys if they're be interested in getting on and sharing their experience. We're going to try to do this once a week, see what happens. And all right. Right on. And
thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming and checking it out. Thanks for your questions. And
glad we could get to all of them.
Yeah.
So far.
So we'll we'll announce it, but we'll plan on doing this next week. And happy tool changes.
See you then.